not wasting time and are focusing on the holiday homework that you have been given. Now, especially for class 12 students, I would like to say that your writing skills hold a very special place as far as your exams are concerned. And when you attempt the CBSE board exams, you will have to attempt the writing skill. I have got a revision section for you for writing skill portion of note making. I have also given earlier videos on note making, and we have also discussed it in the online classes which we were having. But today again I want to give you a refresher course for the same. And at the same time, now that you have been given your holiday homework, you will find it easier perhaps after watching this video to attempt these note making. And I would like you to do them well, because this question is a very scoring question. I'd like to tell you that it's an 8-mark question that you have. And earlier also I had discussed the marking scheme, but I will do it again for your benefit. And let's see now. This is an 8-mark question, out of which 1 mark is given for the title. Then the content gets 3 marks. And then the key to abbreviation gets 1 mark. So that's 5 marks here. Now when we come down to the summary portion, the word limit of a summary is 80 words, and for this you have 2 marks for content and 1 mark for expression. Now for a novice it would seem like this doesn't make sense, and how do I do this? But you'll realize it as you go along that it's very, very simple and it's very easy to do, provided you're willing to make the effort. So let's look at one solved example. I would first like to discuss what is note making. Is simple. It is called note making because what do we do here? We simply make notes. What do we make notes about? I could make notes about anything. It could be about a visit that I had. So what do? You make notes for your personal reference. This is not so much so official as it is personal. So what you will have in the exam is that you will be given a passage of about 800 to 900 words, and you have to compress that passage into notes. Now how can we do that? What are the steps that we will follow in getting down to it? Now the first thing that you do when you want to make notes about a place is, in this particular passage, is to read it. Read it thoroughly. And don't read it just offhand. Read it well. Second thing is, first you've read it, then you have to give it a proper title. What do you think that particular passage is about? Once you have a proper title, you have scored that 1 mark that we discussed about the title. Then you have to get the key ideas of a given passage in a readable form. What you should do is, you should be able to compress all those becomes easy for you to refer to them. And so notes have to be logically written. You can use small graphics and diagrams or even flow charts, whatever is suitable to you. Sometimes you may have seen when we do mind mapping or when we do a certain concept, there are certain arrows, etc. Science students would be very familiar, and so would the account, and for that matter, students from all streams. So we have given the title, then what do? We make a logical structure. Once we make the logical structure, that is, we pin down the key points, take out the key points and develop them on that only. You are now summarizing it, you are shrinking it, because obviously if you were to study somewhere, then you will not be able to write down each and every word that your professor is saying. What will you do? You will listen to the key phrases, something that you feel is important, and then you will make notes. So let us see how this is done. First of all, when you make notes, you are supposed to use only phrases. No sentences, no complete sentences are used in note making. Then the topic sentence of each paragraph is the main point. That means each paragraph, suppose you have 4 paragraphs. So what is the main key point of that particular paragraph? Then that would be the topic of a subpoint. And then all ideas related to it will be listed below. So they will be the subpoints. This is your main point in perhaps a note making passage of 3 to 4 points. So here also you have this, and then you have 2-3 subpoints that are obviously related only to this aspect of the passage and the paragraph. You should not ideally take a subpoint which belongs here and put it there. No, avoid that. Do not let that happen. Let the ideas be connected within the paragraph itself. Make sure that you have the ideas connected. Now sometimes each subpoint that you have written over here may have another point to it, and then would come the next point. Then you can add it below it, but don't make it too elaborate. You don't have to give examples to support the main ideas. Now proper indentation. What is indentation? Indentation means that when you have put a main point here, then you are moving the rest of the points further in. This particular moving in of the margin, this is the indentation, and it's very important. Now remember something, when you write the indentation, you should make sure that if you are making, for example, if you're using the numbering scheme of A, B, C, D, then you follow it like this. So in the next point that you make, whatever point you have written here, make sure here also it goes A, B, C, D. Do not write A, B, C, D, then you write 1, 2, 3, 4. The following numbering scheme should be the same. That is very important. And try and cover all the important points in the passage. Now you have an unseen passage which you are looking at, and what does that unseen passage tell you to do? You should first see those things. So you can use symbols or figures also. For example, if you want to show that a particular topic talks about a situation, so you can, in your key to abbreviations, make a box. Now when you make a key to abbreviation, it should always be in a box. Not more than 3 to 4. Right over here, key to abbreviations. This is done at the end of the note making passage, so the examiner can know what is there. Then whatever words you have used here in short form, mention the full form here. Make sure that is done in a proper manner. Do not use more than 3 to 4 abbreviations. Sometimes in their enthusiasm, students write at least 7, 8 abbreviations, sometimes 10, sometimes 16. That is not required, because this particular is only for 1 mark. So you have to write only 3 to 4. Is that clear? Now having made the notes, let us see. You have written 1 point here, then the subpoint, then point here, then subpoint, then again point here, and subpoint. So once you have done this, you have to write the summary. Pick up these main points here and use them in your summary. Your summary should not exceed more than 80 words. Students are writing paragraphs and paragraphs in the summary. We don't want any kind of extension of the summary more than the word limit. Remember students, this is also a question in the exam, and you have a time frame within which you have to attempt this particular question. So you should use maximum 10 to 15 minutes to solve this question, in which you cannot exceed your time frame, because it's only 8 marks for this question. You cannot spend wasting half an hour or so. No. You have to make a cohesive, coherent note making along with the summary. And in the summary, always use third person indirect speech and past tense wherever you required. Now remember, you have to be very short and brief. It should not be very long. And it should be in complete sentences with a suitable title. So the title has to be given. Title, if you give either in note making or if you give it in your summary, either is okay, but only one title is accepted. You cannot give separate titles for the both. Okay, you may provide appropriate titles, but it doesn't to abbreviations, to use symbols. Anything that you would like to write as a symbol in your notes, you can use that also. This is an example. I'm just giving you a suggestion. It doesn't mean you have to do it. You may use arithmetic symbols, for example, percentage, or if you want to use greater than, less than, whatever. And if you have capitalized words such as UN, and if you have, for example, we hear about WHO a lot these days, all these things can be used. And at the same time, you can also use short terms such as, commonly used short terms such as English need not be written in the full form. You can write ENG as English. And suppose you want to make your own abbreviation, then you can invent it. Now, how will you do it? Suppose you have to write the word education. Instead of writing education, you want to write EDN and dot. Now, in your key to abbreviation, you will give the full word of this, whatever this has symbolized here. So this is here very clearly mentioned how you can do it. And always remember what I told you about proper indentation. Indentation is first subheading. So that is your 1 point. Then below it, again you've moved in space. So you have 1 point, then the second one, and so on and so forth. And then you go on to the second subheading, whatever you are writing. So having done this, you will find that it's very easy to demarcate whatever you're writing in your paragraph, and it's easy for you also. You will not feel that you are doing a lot of extra work and it's very stressful. That situation will not happen. But one thing you have to do, and I strongly recommend, is that you should be able to do this in such a way that your note making ends up looking in a proper organized manner. And that's very important for you to be able to do it. So students, I recommend and I suggest that you do this in a proper way. And all the best when you're doing your holiday homework. Study well. You will achieve your goals. But remember, is going to get you to your goals. It's very important to focus and to use the right skills when you are studying English. So one thing that we need to do is that we read. You have to definitely start reading well. If your reading skills are fast, remember you will get 15 minutes when you have your examination. You have 15 minutes reading time. So in those 15 minutes, use and utilize that time to read the passages that are given, because the passages require a lot of time for you. So those 15 minutes can be spent in reading. Rest of the literature questions are short. They are written in 1 or 2 sentences. However, the passages here are lengthy, and so you can read them through that time. And so that times when you actually start attempting the answer, it has already been through your vision once, and that is why you will not have a problem when you read it. So I am going to show you one ready note making passage, which is the done, and so you will have an idea of how it is done. So you will not feel your work is incomplete. And another thing I want you to do is that when you start your reading, you are able to identify immediately what is required of you in a particular chapter. Make sure. Now I'm going to show you one particular passage. If you see this passage, they have demarcated this particular passage and they have made it into notes. Them are complete, but they have really shrunk it. The passage was, of course, much longer, and I'm going to highlight this particular key to abbreviation. If you look at the key to abbreviation, it's just 4 words here, and that is why they have really, shrunk it in such a way. So it's very important to be able to read it. And so when you get the unsolved passages, what I'm showing you are the solved passages here. See the way it is written here. They have really shrunk it down to the proper length and shrunk it down to the proper system of how it is being written and followed the rules of note making. That's very, very important when you are following and making your notes. So all the best to you, and I wish you good luck as you do your holiday homework. And so when you come back after the holiday homework, you will have completed your notes, and I hope this video was very helpful for this. Thank you, students. This is the end of your class.